All right. What's up, everybody? My name's Rob. I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. Made my last bet November the 12th of 2022, and I'm live answering questions that you might have about gambling, gambling addiction, my journey of addiction and recovery, pretty much whatever you guys want. When we do these streams, sometimes we get a good crowd, sometimes we don't get such a big crowd, but regardless of whether you're watching live or if you're watching on the replay, whatever number of days in the future. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in either the chat or the comment section. And I'm going to do my best to get to literally everyone that I see that I can. So, for those that don't know me, I made my last bet November the 12th, 2022, and I spent 6 years gambling for an average of like 8 hours a day. It was a shell of the life that I deserved to live, but I was doing it to myself, chasing after what I thought was going to make me happy. That didn't happen. So if you guys have that experience, I can very much say that you're not the only person that has that experience of just thinking that gambling was going to be the answer to your problems, but instead ending up with a bunch of other problems. So I see we got a couple people that just joined. So welcome to the stream, my friend. If you have any questions about gambling, gambling addiction, addiction recovery, you want to hear about my experience, feel free to drop some questions in the chat, and I will do my best to answer whatever comes in. Yeah, excuse me. Whoa, early voice crack. Let's start with a sip of water, I guess. I started off with sports betting, like more specifically fantasy sports. Very quickly after that, it was regular sports betting. Probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 months after that, it was online casino games. Then it was poker. Then it was slot machines by the end, and pretty much everything in between. So it progressed from something that was a couple of small little bets with my friends for fun into something that I was like basically feeling like I was dependent on for emotion. Like if I wasn't gambling, I wasn't living optimally. Like I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's what I was feeling at the time. Let's see. I've been out of the casino for 2 weeks and noticed my bank accounts aren't going crazy. I started building an outdoor kitchen to keep me busy. Congrats, dude. That's literally like the perfect thing, right? You're finding things to do with your time that are productive, that mean something to you, that you can enjoy. And it's not the expectation that like building the outdoor kitchen is going to be that huge thrill that's going to replace the gambling, right? But it's something productive. It's something to be proud of. And, it's like the exact opposite of what gambling was giving us, right? It's something that you can visibly see the progress. With gambling, all you really see is the consequences. What's up, my friend? You really want to gamble right now? Well, let me know in the chat what it is that's tempting you so that we can work through it. There's a lot of reasons that people have urges, a lot of things that people think to make them want to go back and bet again. But if we can get to the bottom of it, let's try to figure it out together. Do you notice different addictions taking place when in recovery from gambling? So, Brian, what you're getting at is that it's pretty easy for someone to fall into an alcohol addiction or drug addiction when recovering from gambling because you're trying to supplement the thrill, what's missing now because you stopped gambling. So, in my experience, I didn't end up with another addiction, but I did find myself basically feeling completely uncomfortable with peace. I was basically addicted to chaos. And so that's a big hurdle to get over if you want to truly recover is there's going to be this gap of time where you feel really freaking bored. But with that said, over time, that is your brain healing. It's your brain readjusting, and those urges will go down. You'll feel pleasure in small things again. But trying to supplement that thrill, that rush right away, you could end up with another addiction, 100%. Jarek, thanks for being here, my friend. I appreciate you. We get lots of comments on this page, some good, some bad, but at the end of the day, I just want you to get value of what I do, what my story was, and the story that others are willing to share when they come on the channel. So thanks for being here. Thanks for the kind words. David has 13 days without a bet. Congratulations, but having some strong urges, getting more sensitive about a lot of things and it triggers. Was it like that in the beginning? Certainly, but let's get to the bottom of it, right? Because everyone's experience is different. I can share my experience, but I think it's maybe more valuable to work on a case-by-case basis here, right? In the beginning, I was really irritated because now I didn't have my favorite thing to do. That might be your experience. It might not. So tell me, what are the urges that you're feeling? What are the temptations to go back? Feel like willpower isn't enough to stop for good. I would agree. You need some structure. In my experience, it was 4 things that really helped. Willpower was, I guess, a 5th thing, but mainly it was finding alternative things to do with my time that meant something to me, limiting my access to the gambling by self-excluding from the casinos and websites, basically blocking the accounts out, having someone manage my finances so that when I would have a temptation to gamble, I didn't have access to the bank account And fourth, going to support group meetings. That's more than willpower for sure. Is there such a thing as responsible gambling, like setting a budget and following it? There's the debate to be had on, whether or not responsible gambling is a realistic term. I don't think that it is, but realistically, a lot of people can gamble and it doesn't become a problem for them. But it's like saying, is there healthy alcohol? Like the answer is no, but not everyone ends up an alcoholic. So there's no responsible gambling because you're willingly pissing away your money, but many people don't get addicted to gambling. So, of course, on this channel, we focus on people that develop problems and the way that the industry then squeezes those people for money. But I wouldn't call it responsible. I'd call it non-damaging, maybe not damaging long term. Realizing what's the point of stopping? Like I'm never going to be rich anyway. Why not just do it? It's fun. Well, you're guaranteeing that you'll never be rich. If that was the goal, then you've now accomplished it. But there is something to be said, right? When you feel like you're hopeless and you feel like it's the only way out, you might as well do it because your life is terrible. Like that's exactly why people from lower income communities get hooked to gambling at higher rates. The industry preys on that. They know that people are feeling this way and they take advantage of it and squeeze you for everything that you're worth. The truth is the only way to gain in life, the only way to become successful is repeated effort over a long period of time. But majority of people don't want that. I didn't. I wanted the easy way out, right? I wanted to get rich and I was like, well, I'm not going to be successful any other way, so I need to do it from gambling. That led to extra years of just relentless suffering. So if you do feel this way, I am sorry. I understand the feeling. Hopefully you get to the point where you start thinking, man, maybe this life is worth living and maybe it can get better because it can. My biggest thing is how my brain is wired. If I had the money to buy or pay something, even though I actually had the money to pay for it, I'll take that money to gamble to see if I can pay for it. Okay, so the concept is like if something costs $20, I want to win $20 so that I can buy it with my gambling win instead of buying it with the money so then I can use the money to gamble again. That's one of the signs of a gambling addiction. So I see that you commented from YouTube, so check out in the description. There's actually a 20-question quiz from a group called Gamblers Anonymous. And being reluctant to use normal money or gambling money for normal expenditures is one of the signs, right? So having this thought of like, I would rather gamble the money instead of spending it on this thing so that I can try to win the thing. It's a clear and obvious sign of a gambling problem. Of course, you may know that if you're already here, but 100%. I get the feeling. I used to do the same exact thing because we feel defensive about the money, right? Like, oh, if I spend it on this, like I won't have enough. I have to gamble so that I can have more. And it's this trap in our brains where we're convincing ourselves that gambling is a way to make money. So if you can get to the thought of like, no matter what wins I have, I will eventually lose that money. That can help you maybe justify that, this isn't actually a good method of trying to acquire more money to buy things. Okay, so David says, I'm agitated. This is why David is experiencing gambling urges, referring to a question that I asked him back in response earlier. I have a little bit of anxiety and I simply want to get away and I'm bored because business is slow for me right now. That's why I'm having urges. Well, I appreciate you opening up and being honest, my friend. So let's think about this logically. You have anxiety, you want to get away, and you're bored. So if you write down things that I can do when I have anxiety that aren't gambling, and you make a list. So maybe it's calling your friend and going to your favorite restaurant with them. Maybe it's going for a walk in the park with your mom. Maybe it's calling your sponsor at a meeting and having a conversation. If you have a list of when I experience this emotion, I will do this, that's going to go a long way for you in resisting the urge. But I understand it. Gambling it's this easy way out, right? It's our kryptonite because we're like, man, all I got to do is place. My cat is rummaging around through a new box. My God, hope you guys can't hear that. All we have to do is replace that negative feeling with some gambling, right? The problem is that we accumulate more consequences. We create more of the negative feeling and we end up in a cycle where I'm stressed, so I'm going to gamble. But then the gambling actually causes me more stress. So I feel like I need to gamble again, which is causing me more stress, so you see how it's going to go, right? I understand that it's not great to embrace boredom and embrace negative emotions, and the temptations are going to be higher during those points. So it's important to build some responses for yourself so that when I experience X, I will do Y. It's easier said than done, right? Any money that you lost gambling was the amount that you had to lose to learn that it was only going to get worse. If you go out and you have a win, you're going to keep going. And eventually, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, next month, you will lose that money. All wins are future losses. If that doesn't make you accept the reality of the situation, then you're probably not ready to stop yet. Charles, thanks for being here and thanks for the kind words. 2 months without gambling after 15 years of addiction. Well, congratulations. Hopefully, you can keep that rolling. Let me know in the chat, what have you done so far to keep yourself away from gambling? And that goes to everyone, not just you, Charles, because a lot of people will say, I've tried everything to stop gambling, but then it's really just like I ignored it. So we need to make sure that we have a good plan in place. That doesn't mean your plan's not working. I just want to know what it is. Putting between 30% of the paychecks between Roth and traditional 401k and HSA investing. So for those that don't know what these things are, my friend here is being more financially responsible now, which is a good thing. It's not necessarily a recommendation to do this exact thing, but putting money into places where we're not going to blast it off, I would recommend that. So I think exactly. So that way I'm forced to budget and only spend what I have only on necessities. Exactly. What's up, Froggy? Great to see the channel is doing so well. Thank you. As a side note, if you want to see the channel continue to do well, consider subscribing because we work really hard to put out content. Gambling can be a major problem, but do you think it's an actual addiction? Like something someone really can't do without or stop? Or is it selfish? So, gambling addiction is a clinically recognized addiction. It's called a gambling disorder. If you look up what's called the DSM-5, it's like a diagnosable illness. Now, I don't think it matters whether we call it addiction or issue or problem because the end result is the same thing. We have to stop gambling if we want to live a better life once you've crossed that line into being someone that can't control their gambling. So that's me, right? So it doesn't really matter what title. I've actually always been someone that thinks that labels and like the things that we call things are incredibly stupid and unnecessary. And it usually means that we're deflecting from actually tackling the problem and instead trying to just call it a different thing so we can feel a different way about it. But that's kind of a side rant. This is something that is an addiction. This is something that you can get better from, but you have to take personal responsibility to get better and actually want to stop. So if that makes sense as the answer, then good. If not, ask the question a different way. Sorry. Thank you. I told my wife about you. I hope she doesn't hate me. Well, nice to meet you, wife of I don't belong here. You do belong here, by the way. But yeah, I'm glad that this is helping, right? Like when I was gambling, I didn't see any content that told me that gambling might be bad. I felt like when I would lose, that must have meant that I made a mistake, or I wasn't good enough at gambling, or I didn't figure it out yet, right? So hearing someone talk about the reality of gambling, I'm hoping that it can help people to reach a answer, reach a solution to their problems a little bit faster than I did. That's really the hope. 21 with 5K in debt. I think the only way out is to continue gambling. So ask yourself, what has happened thus far when you've had a win? Because you might have racked up 5K debt, but there's no way you got to that point without some wins, right? Like you've won bets before, but you're in 5K debt. Why? If you can win, why have you ended up in this position? The reality is all wins are future losses. So you might feel like you need to continue gambling because it's seemingly the fastest way to come into money. But because of the rule that all wins are future losses, say you went and you made 5K, would you then stop gambling? You might say, oh, I just want to get back to even, then I'll quit. But how many times have you already said that? The problem with continuing to gamble to try to get out of gambling debt is eventually you will end up in a worse gambling debt. I know because I did it 6 different times over the 6 years I was gambling. You make your own decisions, of course, but I can tell you from experience, if we continue doing gambling, we will continue losing money. And that's just the truth. Hey, from the UK, what's up, my friend? Let me know in the chat where you guys are watching from, because right now I'm streaming from the United States, East Coast, Philadelphia. I got into gambling after a $400 win from a $10 win back in 2006. Won and lost since then, given it up numerous times. No longer gamble, but was wondering what your triggers were. Oh, I appreciate the question. That is the common story, right? Like we start with a big win and it convinces us we can go back and do it again, but glad to hear that you've been able to stay away. For me, I didn't experience triggers. I get this question quite often, but I actually wasn't someone that felt an urge or trigger to gamble because I was just gambling every day. I didn't think about it like, "Man, I need to place a bet right now. Man, like, I really wanna gamble right now." I just did it. Like, it was so ingrained in my routine and habits that I didn't think about it at all. So I always struggle to answer that question because I didn't need to be triggered. I was already gambling by the time a trigger would have come. Man, your videos have made me really think about gambling, my gambling addiction. I spend 1,000 a month, which is sustainable. Been gambling 15 years. You stopped several times, but it always creeps back. Um, it's interesting, right? Because say you're spending money within what you can theoretically afford to lose. Like, how much time is being wasted within that as well? That's something that was hard for me to kind of come to terms with. Is like it wasn't even the money that was the big problem. I mean, it sucked and it caused a lot of consequences. Yes, it was a problem. Don't get me wrong, but I just wasted like every waking second gambling or thinking about gambling, and it just is what it is. But we don't have to live that way anymore. So for those that don't know me, my name's Rob. I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. Made my last bet November the 12th, 2022. Here we're taking questions about gambling, gambling addiction, and addiction recovery. If I miss your question, please just re-ask it. I'm doing my best to keep up with what's coming in the chat. 7 years of my life going to the casino every day to play slots and roulette. All it took was a one look at my win-loss statement. Seeing the reality of what you're doing with the gambling can be a really big help, right? Like we live in kind of la la land thinking, oh, it's different. Oh, I'm a good gambler. Oh, I'll figure it out. But when we see things kind of written out in front of us, it can kind of make us question ourselves. It could also provide excuses, but I'm glad that for Leonard here, it made him question the behavior. Step one, start watching me more and more. If it helps, then fantastic, my friend. But step one through four to stop gambling that I did were finding alternative things to do with my time that meant something to me, limiting my access to money that would tempt me to gamble by having someone control my bank account. It was actually my mom, which felt vaguely embarrassing, but it made a big difference. So who cares? Self excluding from the casinos to make it as difficult as possible to place a bet and going to support group meetings. So those are the big four things. I don't think I have a problem, but I'm spending too much. I don't know, dude. Like, it's like my job is to not tell people what to do. Like, I always have to remember that. If I tell you what to do, then you're just gonna keep doing it. But I don't have a problem, but here's the problem, was what I just read. I appreciate you being here though, and I'm happy that, the content's been helpful thus far. I broke even so many times for my losses, but always ended up giving it back at some point, chasing more. All wins are future losses. We can go and we can win. Like this is the only addiction where you can go out and you can win. The problem is that if you don't stop, whether it's today, tomorrow, the next day, the next week, the next month, it's going to get given back. That's why it's so you have to get to that conclusion. It's like the laws of physics, right? If we can agree, which a lot of people don't agree, and this is the main problem, that gambling causes you to lose in the long run, then it's easier to kind of get out of your own head about, next time's going to be different. Online GA meetings versus in person, go to whatever you can. If you can find a group of people that supports you through your hardest moments and you're able to work with them and learn from them, then do what it is. Brian, I went to in person meetings, but that's solely because I found a room that I liked. Really go to wherever you can and wherever you feel like you're making good progress and stick to it. Don't make excuses for yourself. That's what I would say. I'm on day 11, and it's been pretty easy since I have no money left for the month. I get that. That happened to me many times, my friend. Any tips for what to do when you get paid again? Partner controls the finances and you get an allowance. Well, you already did it. That's the tip. That was the tip. Don't manage your own money. Now, make sure additionally that you don't create a sense of resentment towards that person because they're helping you. So you're going to be tempted to gamble. You're going to be like, give me my money. It's my money. I earned it, blah, blah, blah. They're doing their job to help you to live a better life. So that's really the key, but you're doing it. Like putting financial barriers in place is huge. Oh, Josh, thank you for the gift. Or Joshua Project, thank you for the gift, my friend. I appreciate that. What daily habits have you changed that keep your gambling urges in check? So at this point in my life, it's been over 3 years since the last bet. I don't really have consistent gambling urges. I really don't have any at all. In the beginning, I wanted to find habits that would help me reduce urges, but the truth is you're not going to. Probably not the answer to the question that you wanted. The thing is, you're not gonna be able to control when you feel a gambling urge. Like, your brain has just become adapted to crave the dopamine from gambling over everything else. The good news, though, is that over time, the urges fade in intensity and in volume. So rather than trying to find a way to control the urges or keep them in check, find a way to prepare for the urges and be patient. Because if you're preparing for urges over a long period of time, those are going to stop and you're not going to act on them because you're prepared. So, for example, if you gamble when you have too much money in your account, don't have access to the account. Have someone control the bank account. If you gamble when you're bored, then have a list of things ready for what I will do when I get bored. Don't take the cheap way out, which is going and placing a bet. But trying to keep them in check is a losing effort. You're not going to be able to. They're just naturally going to do that over time. If anyone could ever get Dunkin' Donuts to sponsor me, that would be the best moment of my life. I love Dunkin'. I do. I love it. Unsponsored. Just saying it. This is just a regular coffee with protein milk because I gotta get the gains in. It's goated. I love it. What helps me is saying this every day. I didn't gamble yesterday. I didn't gamble today. I will not gamble tomorrow. Listening from San Diego. Thanks for being here, Raul. Whatever mantra it is that gets you through it. I mean, that's the name of the channel, right? It's one day at a time. ODAT stands for one day at a time. It's a common saying from groups like Gamblers Anonymous. We just whatever works for us. If you're looking for online like GA meetings, like let me type it out. If you're looking for online like group meetings, check out gamblersinrecovery.com. I just put that in the chat. In addition to now asking you guys, if you have any questions about gambling addiction, drop them in the chat. The number one way you can support the channel is by following and or subscribing, depending on where you're watching. And hopefully we can keep making content that's helpful. Do you have a YouTube channel? Because I'm going to subscribe. Thanks, Leonard. Watching from YouTube. I appreciate you, bro. Thank you. When you stopped gambling, did you have another addiction to replace your gambling addiction? No, but it's something that happens commonly. The reality is that you need to embrace this feeling of boredom that's going to come, and it kind of goes with this point. There's going to be an intense feeling of boredom without the gambling, and if you try to replace it with anything else, you'll probably end up addicted to it. But over time, your brain will readapt to the normal way of thinking and living that you had before, and you'll find enjoyment in the smaller things in life again. But trying to feel that intense thrill again right away is just continuing the addiction in a different font. Sorry to hear that you're struggling at age 14, my friend. Gambling is impacting people younger and younger than ever before. Everything that I say on this channel applies to everyone, regardless of what age that they are. So if you are needing help right now, I want you to check the description of this video. There's a link to a video called How I Stopped Gambling. Check that one out first. It's a little bit long, but it dives deep into everything that I did. And then additionally, if you're looking for like more in-depth help and you're in the United States, check out Right Choice Recovery. They're linked in the description there. It's a treatment center in New Jersey. Whew, a lot of words coming out of my mouth today. I appreciate y'all being here. We got a good amount of people watching too. So if you have questions about gambling addiction, feel free to drop them in the chat. Happy birthday, City. Appreciate you being here. I'm 10K in debt and you won and you think you can pay off the debt, but the casino only. So this is just a totally different issue. You're on a scam casino and you're getting scammed, and I'm very sorry for that. But thinking that you're going to pay off your gambling debt with gambling, let's get to the bigger issue here. Even if you were able to withdraw that money and pay off your debt, if you did it from gambling, you're just going to keep gambling, and eventually you're going to end up with a worse debt. Please come back to the page when you're ready, my friend. I'm very sorry to hear about the situation, though. How long did it take me to not have urges? Jamie, it was probably about 6 months in before the urges really began to subside. But in truth, like doing the work that I do, making this kind of content, I've learned just so much about the gambling industry. We're talking about the stakes, the FanDuels, the DraftKings, Prize Picks, these companies. And I've learned how they manipulate people. They use people. They bleed them for everything they're worth. They scam them. They lie to them. They cheat them. That really helped me to stop having gambling urges when I realized that I was betting in a losing game with some of the biggest scumbags on earth. That very much helped me to stop. But to answer your question directly, yeah, about 6 months, I stopped feeling an intense urge because my brain was beginning to heal. And that's what's going to happen, whether it's 6 months or a year or 2 years. It's going to happen for everyone that stops and stays stopped. In terms of boredom, I found that if you have a creative outlet like making music or creating art, it really helps. I can relate to this. I mean, I started making videos, not that I find them to be artistic, especially not in the beginning, because they were doo doo. But finding something to do, to create, to build, I think that's something that's very useful for your time, especially early on, because when you're addicted to gambling, you're just seeing your life continuously fall apart. You're not building anything. So creating something tangible that you can see the progress of what you're doing, I think that's huge. Hey from India. Hey, what's up? Happy to have you here. And understanding that you're not alone and you have a future, like that's the number one and two. I guess that's one thing, right? The number one thing you can take away from this channel is that you're not alone, because not everything that's going to work for me is going to work for everyone. But the reality is, if people know that they're not alone, that means a solution is out there, right? If other people are recovering, there's something out there that can help you. And I really hope that it's, what happened to me is able to help you. But if it doesn't, at least you're not alone. I hear that young men under the legal age of gambling are getting access and it's growing fast. Who regulates these sites? Brian, it really depends on what site you're talking about, because almost every single one has a different regulator. And regulator is a pretty strong word, I think, to be fair. What are my goals in 2026? I have like personal and like professional goals. The personal goals were more related to using my time more productively. I do feel like I waste a lot of time. Uh, so that was my main goal, was finding a more structured approach for my time, and I have like a way of measuring that and things on my checklist and that kind of thing, but don't need to dive too deep into it. And then professionally, I want to see this channel hit 100,000 subscribers. I make content here on YouTube, but also over on like Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. The stuff over there, like, it's to get people here. Like, I really want everyone to come to the YouTube channel, because that's where I'm able to go in like more depth and try to actually do the things that helped me and put them into a long piece of content. So, word vomit there. I want to grow this channel to 100,000 subscribers this year, because there's more than 100,000 people that are struggling with gambling. You said it. I mean, it's a business. They want your money, 100%. Thank you for the kind word, my friend. It's not easy to stop when casinos are around your place. You got 41 days clean. What? Congratulations on the days clean. And I know it's not hard. I know it's not easy to stop when things are close to you. So it's important to self-exclude, make it as difficult as possible for yourself to gamble. Additionally, have someone manage the bank account, find things to do with your time that means something to you, and go to support group meetings, whether they're in person or online. And of course, in the description of the video of this YouTube video, there's links to videos that I've made that kind of go more in depth into what I did to quit. Weaning from real money and going more fantasy, is that a route to sobriety? This is a great question. Unfortunately, the answer is no. I used to think that sounded really realistic, right? Because I'm not a doctor. I'm like, that sounds great. Like, you're not using real money. Or like, I was like, oh, maybe I could just watch the streamers play and I wouldn't have to gamble. I could just watch them gamble. The problem is that in our brains, we're still experiencing the same reaction, the same chemical process. And I learned this by talking to people more informed on the topic than me. I talked to a few doctors about it. Basically, if you go down to free money or demo money and you still keep playing the games over and over again, you're not giving your brain the space that it needs to heal. And so your dopamine levels are still fried. And even though the reality is you're not losing any money at this point, it's still that you're just right there. And it's just a matter of time until we go, oh, you know what? I'm in control now. Maybe I could just bet a little bit, maybe just a little bit here, a little bit there. And then it ends up spiraling into the same situation again. So it's like basically keeping yourself, if you're an alcoholic, it's like keeping yourself in a bar. I still don't think it's a good thing. I've joined random Zoom meeting, host removed me. Didn't say a word. Are there rules or apply earlier? I mean, if you join a meeting halfway through the meeting, that might be a problem. I would go to a meeting that hasn't started yet, because I'm imagining that was the problem. I don't think it's a thing that you have to apply for, though. No. And Daryl, there's no good streamers. There's no streamer that cares about you. If you watch a streamer, you are the product. They're making money when you lose money. And if they're giving anything back, it's to either get more people to pay attention to them, or it's just a scam. There's no good intention streamer. There really isn't. 3 weeks clean. Congratulations, my friend. You don't have GA or other options speaking to a psychologist. I think the psychologist would be a great thing to do. But there's no meetings of any kind. Is there mental health support groups? Is there local like churches? Can you go to a mandir? Can you like talk to someone in a communal setting? Really, it doesn't have to be like that. It's a support group meeting. The idea is a community connection. So you want to find a group of people all aspiring to get better and be able to check in with them regularly. Now, it's easy to say it's like go to Gamblers Anonymous because that's theoretically the goal of the group, right? But that doesn't mean it has to be a Gamblers Anonymous meeting. Let's see. You had a really big craving. Well, Michelle, why? What was it? Let's talk about it. Doesn't I need more information, right? Gambling influencers are kind of shady. Understatement of the year. They never talk about wins or how much they're down for the day, week, or month. You only see mainly the wins because they are directly incentivized to downplay the risks of gambling so that more people sign up and lose money. Because when they get you to sign up with their code, they get paid oftentimes a portion of your losses. So if they say, like, gambling is great, you should sign up, this could be you, then you go and lose. Well, they get paid to stream. They probably keep a percentage of whatever they're able to hold on to every night using the casino's money, and then they get paid a portion of your losses. It's huge money, and it's why they would lie to you. Of course, they're very shady. I have a lot of videos on the channel about that. The dopamine hit is hard to replace because we can't replace it. You're not going to get anything that gives you the same level of dopamine because the level of dopamine that you're getting from gambling is the reason that you got addicted to it. You're going to get addicted to whatever else gives you that level of thrill. That's the reality. Now, that's because your brain's baseline has changed. So imagine this. Use this way because it's reversed. Okay. Imagine this. This is your level of dopamine that you need to feel happiness when you first start gambling. So you gamble and it hits here. You're like, wow, this is so awesome. Okay. Next time that you gamble, it's not here that you need to hit. It's here to get that same thrill. So you have to gamble to here. Then you have to gamble to here and here and here and here and here. This is your original baseline. This is where you have to get because of gambling to feel what this used to feel like. So over time, when we stop gambling, this comes back down to here. And you're able to find thrill in smaller things again. But you're not getting back to here because that was where the addiction lied. I tried to make that a graph with my hands. That's all I have access to at this point. But the reality is that over time, we're going to find that our brains are healing. But just trying to replace that thrill is going to lead to another addiction. Okay, waiting for more questions to come in. Gives me a second to do a couple plugs. This video is brought to you by Right Choice Recovery. They're linked in the description of this video, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. It's a treatment center located in New Jersey, specializing specifically in gambling help. So check them out if you're in need of help, specifically if you're in the United States. That's it. That's the only plug I want to do. So if you have questions about gambling, gambling addiction, or addiction recovery, drop them in the chat. Do you know how long it takes for a brain to get back to the baseline dopamine levels where regular things are enjoyable again? Alex, it's very dependent on how much gambling you were doing, what level you're doing it at, how long it lasted, like these kinds of things. For me, I would say it took between like 6 to 9 months, maybe, but it's different for everyone. It's more dependent on your own experience, but there's like general baselines that like it begins after like 90 days, which is why groups like Gamblers Anonymous will celebrate when people hit 90 days. But give yourself some time. It might take a while. Yeah, here's what it is. Oops. Let's see. I just passed in front of a bar machine. I was surprised, but I'm doing a. Michelle, I have no idea what you just typed. Please do it again. I would love to answer you. I just have no idea what you're saying. I don't believe in counting days. I believe in changing thinking patterns and building new muscle memory. Reset shouldn't define someone as a failure. What do you think? Eddie, I don't care at all. Like, if that works for you, dope. I have the number of days listed here because I think it helps people to see how long it's been since I gambled. But, like, I don't really care. So whatever works for you. That probably wasn't the most deep answer that I could have gave, but that's what it is. Josh, thank you again, my friend. I appreciate you. After watching your channel, I realized that 3 coworkers are gambling addicts, one with crypto, one with sports betting, one with risky business. Problem with that is you might get it because you're seeing them from an outside perspective, but until they want to get to that thought themselves, they're not going to stop gambling. If you have been around the channel for a while, you will have seen that sometimes we'll post a video, specifically when it comes to like sports betting, and people will get mad. Now, the reason that they're getting mad is because they perceive me to be telling them what to do with their time. They think that if I am making a video about stopping gambling, if I'm making a video about how gambling is addictive, that means that I'm calling them out specifically. That means that they think that I'm the bad guy. So you can know someone else has a problem and still be in a really difficult position because if you're the one that tells them, they mm, they think you're the bad guy now, right? So what I always say to people who are in that kind of position is like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can tell someone like, "Hey, I'm worried about you. Hey, it seems like you're gambling a lot," but until they're willing to stop, like we can't really change them, right? But if they are ready to stop, you can help them find resources, and that's a good thing at least. What do you think about tribes who depend on gambling revenue for their survival? I think that given the way that we've structured things, a lot of groups feel like they have to have gambling revenue to survive. That includes like states collecting taxes off of gambling. The reality is an alternative could probably be made, but you know, they're doing what they're doing because they're making a lot of money doing it. What do I think about them? I don't really think about them at all, but it is kind of what it is. Let's see. Will you forever class yourself as a gambling addict? Yeah. I mean, I can never go and gamble in a normal way again. So, yes, I am a gambling addict, regardless of, if it's been 1 day or a million days. But like, I don't really think it means too much after an extended period of time, as long as you're not gambling, right? I think it just sounds like big stigma type wording, but it doesn't really matter, right? I'm a gambling addict, but if I don't gamble, then I don't see the consequences of being a gambling addict. But we don't get cured technically, right? We just stay away from gambling. And we reach a point that it doesn't impact us on a day to day. See, Alexander has tried a psychotherapist. The value of therapy is that I have responsibility to my therapist and family to not mess this up again. But the question is it going to be enough when the urge hits? Um, Maybe, maybe not. Like, I don't know. Everyone's different. Everyone has their own path and experience. But I didn't do just one thing. I did four things. I found alternative things to do with my time that meant something to me. I limited access to the gambling itself by self excluding. I limited access to the money itself by having my family manage my bank account. And I went to support group meetings. So maybe it's the therapist plus having someone manage the bank account. Maybe it's the therapist plus becoming an artist. Like, I don't know what it might be for you, but keeping doing as much as you can to structure your life so that you're not tempted or able to act on temptations is huge. What do I think of gambling being forbidden in the religion of Islam? I don't think at all. I don't know. It sounds like a good thing. Like I don't know though. That's such a strange question to try to answer. What do I think of the sky being blue? I don't know. Many experts say that if you fast for 72 hours, you can reset dopamine levels, which can help fight the urge to gamble. I maybe that would be cool if that's how it works. I don't know. Sound if it works, then great. But I'm not recommending a fast because I don't want anyone to, pass out. But if that works, then awesome. What would happen to my brain if I put a bet on an NBA game tonight? I don't know, and I'm not going to find out. Is relapsing part of recovery? No. I don't think it has to be. But if it is, it's like not the end of the world. You get back on the horse and you try to figure it out. But like saying it's part of recovery is like, yeah, buddy, go ahead and do it. You have to relapse. Like, that doesn't make any sense. What did I think of this ruling where the court decided that casinos are not responsible for stopping someone from gambling the way a bartender is expected to stop serving someone who's intoxicated? I think it's a reflection of the fact that we don't have an understanding of what it means to gamble too much. I think when it comes to drinking, we have a very strong understanding because it's based in math, right? If I blow above a point zero 0.08, I can't drive a car. But with gambling, it's like, oh, do it responsibly. It's too vague, and I think that's why the court made that ruling is because how do you determine when someone's gambled too much? You have to have an objective system, and the only way to be able to do that is by doing affordability checks on people, which the casino industry and their lobby fight against. Affordability check would be like, I, Rob, go into a casino and I have a net worth of $1,000. I can't gamble more than $50 tonight. Like that would be an affordability check, but the casino would never do that unless they were forced to do it, right? Because they would lose money. Always been a sports fan, but sports have now been totally surrounded by gambling. It's been the biggest challenge for me watching things I love, but avoiding my vice. You have this experience? I had it in the beginning because I thought I was a sports fan. But I have news for you. which I discovered myself. If you cannot watch sports without gambling on the game, you are not a sports fan. You may have been the biggest sports fan in the world before you started gambling. I'm not saying that you weren't. And I'm not saying you're not a sports fan right now. But what I'm saying is if you can't watch a game without gambling on it, you're not a sports fan. You're a gambling fan. Over time, if you find that the urges go down, you're able to watch sports again, great. You can relearn how to be a sports fan 100%. But if you can't watch the game without gambling on it, you're not a sports fan right now. My last relapse was a loss of $40. It's not the money, it's the game that was addicting for me. But it's not about the money. It's about what it does to our lives, how it causes stress, how we're constantly preoccupied with it, how it's just a horrible experience for us after a while. Um, so I hope you're able to get back on the horse, find yourself back in the path of recovery, my friend. Okay. All right. Very nice. Okay. Been on a 500 days no gambling streak, and you've relapsed back into no betting track again, but I'm afraid that in the future I may end up relapsing again. Like we're never safe. Do you feel the same way? No, why fear it? Like that just feels like you're inviting it in to ruin your life still, even when you're not gambling. Just keep doing your thing day after day. Eventually you're gonna stop thinking about it. Don't fear it. What are you gonna fear it for? What's that gonna do? Have you heard of the triangle of gambling? I've not heard this, but it's availability of money, free time, and access to betting. If you cut one off, you won't gamble. That aligns with what I tell people to do to stop gambling. So I haven't heard of it, but I like it as a concept. The four things for those that don't know, the things that I did to get over 3 years clean from gambling were finding alternatives for my time that meant something to me, limiting my access to money that was tempting me to gamble by having someone control my bank account, self excluding from the casinos to make it more difficult to gamble, and going to support group meetings for gambling. So if you guys are enjoying the video, please leave a like on it. It'll help it get shown to more people all around the country and the world. And I have to text this guy. Okay. So if you have more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And while I'm waiting, I'm going to just yap a bunch. So hopefully someone drops another question so that I don't have to keep yapping. Let's see. Here we go. Thank you for dropping a question or a comment. On my current journey of quitting, I still check game lines, but you're resisting gambling after the game finishes. If I would have bet, I would have won 2 days in a row. Now it upsets. Okay, great. Great question. How do you deal with this FOMO of like, man, I didn't bet, but if I bet, I would have won? Who cares? Who cares if you would have won? Because what would have happened after that? Would you have won and then been like, man, I'm so happy. I'm going to put this money into a savings account and live my life free of stress? Oh, I'm so happy. I'm going to go out for a nice dinner and take my friends out with the money. No, no. What would have happened is you would have put a bet on the next game. And maybe you would have won that too. And the next game, maybe you would have won that too. And the next game, eventually, you're going to lose. Then you're going to be like, well, I have to get that back. Then you're going to lose again. Well, I have to get back to where I started. Then you're going to lose again. All of a sudden, it spirals and you're in debt. FOMO goes away when you realize that all wins are future losses. It doesn't matter that you missed out on a win because all you did was miss out on a future loss. It was going to happen. But I understand FOMO is 100% real. 100%. Because we feel like, man, if I just made these decisions, I would have won. But we said that when we were gambling too. Man, if I just made this pick instead of that pick, I would have won. Man, if I bet this game, which I should have bet because I knew this one would work out this way, then I would have won. We just keep making up lies to keep justifying going back for another bet. And that's what the FOMO really is. I don't know. Okay. So if you have questions about gambling, gambling addiction, or addiction recovery, feel free to drop them in the chat. If I didn't get to your question and you asked it before, feel free to ask it again because I'm doing my best to keep up with what comes in. So let me know how I can help out. And we're going to be live for another 15 minutes here. So if you are enjoying the content, thanks for being here. Thanks for continuing to support the message. And, hopefully you can get some value out of what we're doing here. I'm so used to going live on TikTok where there's like a bajillion questions that like the pacing of YouTube and Facebook is so much slower. So it's more in depth where I'm able to connect with you guys better. I like it more, but I'm just used to talking at like 100 miles an hour. I can finally take a breath. It's like it feels good. Is other types of thing I can't put it on screen because of YouTube restriction policies, but the question was is corn related to a gambling addiction, and it certainly can be the same kind of idea, right? It's all that your dopamine is fried, only certain things give you pleasure. So when I talk about addiction or when I talk about gambling addiction here, it can be vaguely applied to any addiction because addiction is addiction. So the processes that I used to quit gambling, finding alternatives for my time that mean something to me, limiting access to money, limiting access to the gambling itself, and going to support group meetings, it's the same approach for something like what you're describing, as well as alcohol and drugs. Like it's addiction. We have to get ourselves away from it and become someone that craves it less over time. Are there many women who became addicted to gambling? It used to be that there was this school of thought that men got addicted to gambling because of the action, women got addicted because of the escape. What we found over time is that it's not really the case. It can be a mixture of, wanting to gamble for many, many different reasons. But with that being said, yes, women do get addicted to gambling. Um, in the women that I've interviewed on the channel, there does seem to be more hesitancy to be outspoken about the addiction, about the consequences of the addiction than is with the men. That could be for many different reasons, and everyone has their own reasons for keeping things closer to the chest. But I do think there is more pressure on women to not be so forthright with what's going on. Interestingly enough, so I do think that we have a lot of people that are struggling with gambling that aren't talking about it. So at this point, I do manage my own finances. I took it back over after like a year and a half when the urges really subsided. In the end, that's the goal, right? You get back to your normal way of thinking and living. You're able to have responsibility in your life, but maybe you never get to that point. At the end of the day, as long as you're not gambling and you're becoming someone that you truly want to be, life's getting better each day. Thanks for the love, my friend. It's the one kind of channel that like I'm happy to see it grow and I'm happy to see the videos get more views. And of course, right? Like we're doing work, we want to see people watch it, we want to see it help people. But with that being said, like we're getting more subscribers, we're getting more views because more people are struggling. So I know that there's more than 35,000 gambling addicts out there, which is why I'm continuing to push and continuing to try to have the message reach more people. But there's a certain push and pull to it, right? There's good parts and bad parts. The bad part is that as we grow, it's because more people are struggling. You know, why do we feel bad after losing and still bet more? Well, because we're addicted to the thrill, not necessarily the win or the loss. We want to get that next hit. That means another bet. And winning is good because it gives us more ammunition to keep gambling, but losing is just as good because it presents a challenge. Now we have to go and get that back, right? Either way, it's another thing that we want to go and get back or get more of. So that's kind of why we keep doing it. I have ADHD and feel that my condition exacerbates gambling addiction. That's a well-known link. Yes. How would I approach treatment? Deal with ADHD first or addiction? See, I'm not a doctor. That's like really specifically a question that I wouldn't be suited to answer. I do believe I'm struggling with the same thing though, and I focused on stopping gambling first. That's not a recommendation because I'm not a doctor, and I would go and ask a doctor. But I realized that I could channel my like ADHD tendencies into more productive things where I couldn't channel the gambling into anything more productive. So I had to stop that in order to do anything else. So I spent 6 years hooked to gambling. I was gambling for an average of 8 hours a day, and over the time that I was doing it, I went into debt 6 different times to the point that I had to work a second job to pay it off. I started to share my story online because really by kind of not by accident, like, obviously, I made a video and I posted it, but a friend of mine had stopped showing up to our group meetings, and I had a chat with him, and I felt good about that chat, and I was like, "Let me just do that same thing and put it online for everyone, generally." And it didn't work out at first, but with continued effort over time, it really made a difference. And I kind of view it as like step 12, which is exactly what we're talking about here. Step 12 is trying to help the compulsive gambler who's still suffering. And so that's what I've done. It's become something that I'm able to support in my full-time work without having to charge you guys anything. And it's just kind of a win-win. So yeah, I love doing it. Hopefully I can keep helping people. I did do the 12 steps. I'd more like really in depth did it towards the beginning. And over time, I've kind of less focused on the 12 steps and more focused on the content on the channel. But I think that the most challenging thing for me when I was working through the steps was kind of coming to terms with the amends that I had to make, because I'm not someone that apologizes well. My girlfriend can tell you that. Um, and so having to kind of tell everyone like, "Hey, I'm sorry I did this. I owe you this. I'm going to pay it back," and XYZ. That was really hard. It felt embarrassing, but then I realized that it was kind of building my character. It was getting me back on level terms with everyone around me, and it made a big difference. But I do think that apologizing was the hardest part for me. All wins are future losses. If you chase your losses, you will just end up with more. At this point, I don't watch too many sports. I will watch a good basketball game if it's on, but we traded Jared McCain, and I'm a Sixers fan, and now I'm not really wanting to watch them until the playoffs. So I still can enjoy it, but it's not the way that it used to be, right? I used to have to watch everything. I thought I was a big sports fan, but I was actually just a big gambling fan. And now I watch like the big games, and I'd rather watch it in a group and just be happy to be around the group. Gamblers are addicted to losing, not winning. I mean, not really necessarily at all, but you could be. I guess if you're into that, really, we're addicted to continuing to gamble, not losing or winning. Do you play Counter Strike because it has a lot of skins that you can bet and sell? Yeah. So Counter Strike is something that's enabling a lot of people to gamble, which is a few of my colleagues at this point got hooked to Counter Strike, and that's how they got addicted to gambling. I don't play it, obviously, for that reason. Um, so, but yes, it is a big gambling thing, 100%. Is having a loving partner around you is the biggest win. It's definitely a help, right? Like trying to do things on your own when you're only accountable to yourself, it makes the situation a lot more difficult. That doesn't mean that you need a partner to recover, but it's certainly something that can be a great motivator if you have one. And when you're not actively addicted to gambling, you can enjoy and feel and enjoy life again. And so, like, I was basically going through the motions for 6 years. I didn't listen to when people were talking. I was zoning out. I was just thinking about gambling. And now I live, right? Not every day is a good day, but every day I experience it consciously in the present moment. And I wasn't doing that for a very long time. Did I ever find myself treating loved ones badly, being aggressive to them? 100%. Yeah. Because my mood was determined by a bunch of people that I would never meet and the result of their game, right? Like that was, if I was winning, I felt happy for the time being. If I was losing, I felt frustrated. And so I would be snippy, irritable. And then anyone that kind of questioned my behavior or like did something that would possibly put me in a position where I felt like they were questioning my gambling became my enemy, right? Oh, you're gambling too much. Well, you don't know anything about me. Rob, do you want to go out for lunch? No, I can't. I'm gambling. I'm busy. What do you want? Like, see kind of what I'm getting at? 100% though. Where do I see the gambling industry in 5 to 10 years? I think that it's going to be completely intertwined with everything. I think Kalshi and Polymarket's like a great first look into that, and how they're integrating with like the news, and they're going to be on all the different like apps that you use every day, and you're going to gamble on when your Amazon order is going to show up, right? Like I think that's the inevitable like future if we don't regulate. Is just complete integration with every aspect of technology. If you had a relapse, let me know what it was that sent you back. What was it that sent you back to the gambling that day? I don't really experience urges at the present moment, and mainly it's motivated by the work that I do, the fact that I'm constantly talking about the worst aspects of gambling with everyone that I talk to, and my intense dislike for the gambling industry. Um, so I do my best to reply to DMs, but I really only get to do it about 1 to 2 times per week. It's just trying to juggle a lot of things with a very small team. I do my best though. That's why I do the live. This is why I do the lives though. Like I come on live because I'm able to dedicate an hour to answering questions that people have. Like I always direct people towards a resource or a professional resource that like can be there for them 24/7 because I cannot, if that makes sense. If you gamble on the apps that are just for play, would that help someone with an addiction or make it worse? I used to think that it would help someone because it sounds objectively better, but the problem is that it continues the addiction. It doesn't allow your brain to heal, and eventually it puts you in a position where it's easier for you to go back than had you been staying away from it totally. Because a lot of like the first companies that approached me for partnerships that I like considered were like the free to play slots, right? Because I'm like, oh well, it's like non-alcoholic beer. Like this is a good thing. This my audience would like this. But the problem is that you're just continuing the addiction in a different font, and you're putting yourself in a position where it's only a couple seconds before you go back. Same with the streamers. Like, it might feel like it's a good thing, but you're mind betting, you're living vicariously through them. And even if it feels like, oh, I'm disgusted with them, I don't want to be like that. What happens when they win? You know, because they will win because they're getting paid by the casinos and fronted the money by the casinos to make it look like gambling is great. It's just tough, tough situation. I did karate when I was like 9. Oh, but no, no, I wouldn't be against it. It sounds like it could be a pretty fun time. See, had a relapse yesterday after 2.5 months. In December, I lost 20K and really thought about it was over, hit rock bottom, and felt suicidal. And then I did it again. The day that it feels very fatigued, I have no dopamine left in my brain. Is gambling just a dopamine addiction? It's motivated a lot by the neurochemicals that go on, but it's an emotional addiction as well. We can feel like we have a dependency on it, like we need it to be okay. Sorry to hear about the relapse. Let's figure out, instead of feeling bad about it, what was it that sent us back? Why did we go back? Was it we were feeling sad for ourselves? Was it we had too much access to money? Let's address that directly so that when we have the same situation happen again, we aren't doing the same thing again and ending up in the same position. And once you have that kind of figured out, it becomes a little bit easier. Let's not kick ourselves. Let's learn from the mistakes, right? Anything that's happened that you're upset with, ashamed of, angry with, can be turned into a positive for change. I made this mistake because of this. Next time I feel this, instead of making this mistake, I will do this instead. Make it productive, right? So, yeah, no matter where you're from, gambling is growing. I don't think it's shrinking anywhere. So, I'm sorry to hear it if you are struggling, but that's why this channel is here. We make content every day aiming to help you avoid going down the same path with your life that I did with mine. So, if you're someone that gambles or want to stop gambling or you're in recovery, I'm trying to make this the central hub of talking about gambling and gambling addiction, because we see so many people talking about how good it is, how you're going to make money with it, how it's the best thing and sign up with their code, but we don't hear people talking about what happens when you make 100 bets a day. So hopefully you can get some value out of knowing what actually happens. How to deal with parents who say it's on your mind, just stop it yourself. Like, they manage your bank account, but I could easily manipulate them and lie to them to give you some extra money. So they think that you don't have a real addiction. Is that what I'm hearing? They would need to get educated on the fact that it's a real addiction. But if you're manipulating them, then maybe they shouldn't be the ones that are managing the money. A tough situation, though, my friend. Is there anything where I can't access stakes so it would help? So the truth is, you'll be able to access gambling regardless of what you do, but there's ways to make it more difficult to help you deal with moments of temptation. And the idea is we want to have this happen, right? Okay, I want to gamble. I'm going to gamble is here. Well, I want to gamble and I'm going to gamble needs to be here. And in this space of like the things that you would need to do to make a bet, that's where you need to think, okay, do I really want to do this? And the way that you would do that is something like a gam ban. You want to block gambling apps and websites on your devices, because you need to be able to have the space to make the decision. If it takes you 2 minutes to make a bet instead of 2 seconds, that's a lot of time that you could make a better decision with. Am I an addict? Check out the description of this video and answer the 20 questions of gambling addiction. If you answer yes to 7 or more of the 20 questions, it is said that you have a problem. Relationships haven't been the same since you came out about the gambling. That's to be expected, right? We probably lied, manipulated, and stole from that person. So the truth is that over time, with consistent positive action and change, a lot of relationships can be repaired. Not every relationship, but a lot can. So instead of thinking like, man, this person's still mad at me, like this is ridiculous, I'm doing better now, just think, okay, I hurt this person. Hopefully over time, we can repair that relationship. There's no real advice for it other than doing the next right thing over and over again, you know? Mm. If I have some way of managing my money, how can I guarantee that one day when I get full access to my money, I won't gamble it all away? You can't guarantee it. And if you feel like you're going to do that, then never manage your own money again. Like, simple as that. And thank you for the love, my friend. I appreciate you being here. Are you an addict if you lost a certain amount of money? I can't really say yes or no. Once again, direct you to the 20 questions, because it's not about the amount of money that you lost. It's about what else it's doing to your life, which is why I never talk about how much money I lost. I would like to see you grow, but would you still respond to us as often? Trying to go live once a week, so if you're in the live stream, then yes, 100%, my friend. With that being said, thank you all for being here. We're going to be wrapping it up. If you have enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. It will help us a ton to get this message out to more people. And of course, we got to hit our little outro. Let's keep getting better together, one day at a time.